All right, so for your final, you guys are gonna be drawing the stools that are right here in front of you. It is going to fill up this entire piece of paper. Okay? Remember that negative space is the area around the object, or the air around it. So one of the things, if you're really having a hard time, especially when you get to the lower areas here, have a neighbor hold up a piece of black paper behind it, and you draw basically anything that's black. Okay, that's what you are drawing. So if you're really confused as to what's going on down here, you just draw the area that is black.
So you don't draw the stools?
We don't actually draw the stools at all. And what this is it's supposed to actually be part of that toolbox. Remember we talked about being able to draw when you're not even sure how to draw something? If you get stuck, you can always look at the negative space around an object to figure out how to actually draw it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start kind of at the top. I kind of draw a negative space the way I read. So top left, and then I'm gonna work my way down and through the actual object. I'm looking for shapes that I see, and you guys can choose whichever line. I know in my other video, it showed you guys gestural and shapes and dots and gradient and a solid fill, cross hatching that you guys could use. You can use any one of those. You can use a mixture of those if you'd like to for different shapes, or just use one of them. I like to start over here. I'm going to start with, and I see a triangle actually right here. If I were to connect this, I see a triangle right here. Okay? So I'm going to pick a spot, and if you don't get the whole set of stools on the paper, that's fine, but you need to fill the whole paper. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with my triangle. I recommend starting in a corner so you don't end up outlining the shape. I'm not telling you to draw a triangle and color it in. I'm telling you to fill the space as you go, and what that does is it forces you to actually look at the object while you're drawing it. So I'm going to draw my triangle. I'm starting in the corner. Just like the contours, I'm continuing to look back up at the actual shape as I go.
So it can be more than one line.
I'm using a gestural line right now. Okay, there's my triangle for the edge of my leg. Nothing crazy yet, okay? The next shape I see is right next to that, so the next thing I'm going to draw is right here. It's kind of a trapezoid. I personally, from where I'm sitting, do not see anything in here. Depending on where you're sitting, you may see some of this. I do not. Those yellow bars line up perfectly straight from where I'm sitting, so I won't be drawing anything in between. Again, I'm going to line up this corner down here is the very bottom. This one up here is all the way about halfway up, so I'm going to start there, start in a corner, and fill in that space as I go. I'm going pretty quickly here. This may take you quite a bit longer. So far, so good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay. Again, I'm doing this like I read, so I'm going to go over to the next spot now. This trapezoid in the middle is much, whoops, as I throw my pencil, is much bigger. Thank you. This one right here is about double the size. I'm looking at the size in comparison to the other sizes too to get my shapes right. I'm also lining up my corners. So I can see that this corner down here of my other one also lines up with my next trapezoid of the legs. So I'm going to go here. The legs are about the same size. I'm going to start in that corner and again work my way out. Kind of working on an angle like I'm making a triangle until I get to the other corner. So far, so good. I know this seems pretty boring and simple. You're like, dumb, Mrs. Lucky, that's super easy. Imagine what happens down at the bottom.
Ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of shapes.
Kennedy, while I'm doing the next one, on my desk, there are the sample ones. There's that big one. Can you grab that for me? Okay, then the next one, I'm drawing that next, again, trapezoid. Again, I'm going right or left to right like I read, so I'm just working my way across because what I'm drawing, I'm going to use what I've already drawn to help me guide where it's going to go, okay? So I'm going to start in the next corner. I think you just sit right on the table. So I've got 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs, and my last leg is right out here for my stool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'll just keep going. I'm gonna actually line up, I see another triangle on the outside here. It's almost kind of like a puzzle, that you're just finding all the pieces for.
Put it together.
I'll try and finish up this one. For this next trapezoid, I'm going to do it right below this one because that actually is, and the 2 corners line up, so I know that those corners have to line up. So again, it's like you're doing a puzzle and trying to line up all the other shapes, kind of like when I showed you in that video the scissors, and how the corners of the scissors lined up. Once you've got all the rest of the stuff in there, it's actually pretty easy to fill in because you know where everything's gonna go. Now here's something that I always see. Once I finish these up, I'll show you the next little bit here. What I oftentimes see is people start to then draw what they think they see instead of drawing what they actually do see. By that, so far so good?
Yeah.
You guys okay?
Chair. I can chair.
Okay, there's a like so far, yes? Hmm? What I tend to see next is people draw a line in between these 2 stools.
Wrong.
There is not a line in between 2 stools because they're touching. There is
I can
no
see
black
through.
space, no space in between, yes? Okay? People often, like I said, think there's negative space here. There's not. They're touching. Anything that's touching, you just don't have those details. So I just don't want you to get caught up in that space. Okay? If we were to keep going, we would eventually see something like this.
Wow.
Once this is done, obviously, then I can just fill in the space around it to actually fill in the.
I don't get it.
You got some chair?
So I have the chair. Here's the stool. Here's the legs coming up from the ground. Here's the bottom stool. Okay. Does that make some sense? And does that help clarify the negative space a bit more to you guys?
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
It's a chair. It's that. Okay, so that is your next assignment, is to do a final. I would recommend making sure that you do it slowly. Okay, you're not making 10 of these, you're making 1 of these that you're gonna turn in for a final grade. The final's worth double what those practice ones are worth. Okay, it is done on a large scale paper. Okay, and it should all be filled in. I don't require that you include everything, but it needs to include at least 2 of the stools. Meaning, if you go from here down and draw that, you can't just ignore a stool. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you can do from here up, you could do from here down, you could do from here up, but you'd still draw these legs. You know what I mean? Or you could do the whole thing. Mine, I think, got cut off about right here in my drawing. Does that make sense? So you don't have to include the whole thing, but you need to fill the whole paper.
That one is never told.
Okay. All right.